Hello, I'm Leo K, and I want to explore It's Winter with you. It's Winter is a fascinating little project. I can't even rightly call it a game because, generally speaking, a game has, if not a failure state, then a victory state, or some kind of goal. But It's Winter doesn't have either of these things. So, yeah, I'm not sure if it's even fair to call it a game. Even the walking simulators that many people so love to deride have a goal. They have an end state. They have a threshold, a location, an objective of some kind. Regardless of how difficult it is to reach it, regardless of how little or how much time it takes to achieve it, even those games have a goal, a purpose. But you see, It's Winter doesn't have a purpose. Indeed, if it did have one, it would probably be something along the lines of experiencing a peaceful sadness, but a very particular kind of peaceful sadness, the kind that you get when, it's late, the moon is filtering in through your window, you're home alone, or maybe even at a friend's house, and they've stepped out to take a phone call or to buy a snack. Maybe they've gone to the store for one reason or another, who knows. But whatever the case is, you're by yourself, and it's not frightening or anything. It's just kind of blank, in a way, kind of calm, kind of peaceful. And it's almost like all the quietest, softest aspects of the world come rushing into your consciousness. And you can't help but, start wondering about things, start reflecting about things. Things that, that you want to think about, things that you maybe don't want to think about, but that's the kind of feeling that this game evokes, and you can probably already feel it now. And we haven't even begun exploring this place. No, there is no fail state. No, there is no way to win. You can walk around, you can explore, you can pick things up, drop them. You can grab something like this, put it in here. You can even burn this if you're not careful. We'll just go ahead and put it back there. No. We'll just go ahead and wash that later. Let's not mess around too much with this. But, yeah. Whoever we are, we've left ourselves a little note from, who knows, a night ago, 2, a week, a month. There's no way to tell, really. Submerge yourself into timelessness. Don't prepare for anything. So when all the troubles of this world will be knocking at your door, just lie to them and say, I've been waiting for you. You see, it's this very peculiar and particular kind of melancholy that is almost enjoyable to experience, but of course you have to be in the right mind state for it. You can't just, go ahead and expect to have a good time with it if you're not at the right level of energy. If we want to leave, we're told that the key is in the room. We might wonder which room, but of course there's really only one room to check. Which light does this turn on? Ah, this one. Even the lighting is quite cozy, quite dim. It's not a bad place to live, really. It's quite normal. There's a cotton inside my head. If there's anything to blame, maybe winter. The door's shut. I'm not waiting for anyone. Lights are on in the apartments across from us. Makes you wonder if there are other lonely souls like us, looking out into the world as we do, questioning, wondering, feeling the snowfall, looking out at the softened, muffled night. It's an interesting feeling, and one that you tend not to get from a digital experience. It's not something a great many games have succeeded at replicating or simulating. It's the feeling of looking out your window, being warm, while knowing that the world beyond, the world outside, is cold, and maybe even a little unpleasant to exist in. Some people love the cold, but some people don't. Some people find it discomforting to, bundle up and wear these thick, heavy clothes, big, poofy jackets that make it hard to move and kind of make you waddle as you walk, almost. It's not everyone's idea of a good time. But this staring out your window, hearing, or I suppose not hearing, the way that the fallen and packed snow muffles all sound, as if the whole world has gone quiet. I think that's an interesting thing. And it's a feeling that I've always found to be unique, even among the many unique feelings of being alive, ever since I was a child. As humans, inevitably, if we stay in the same place for too long, there sparks a certain tug of war in our minds, in our hearts. It's this battle, this pull, this tension between enjoying the calm and peace of the moment, but also feeling a kind of tension and restlessness. And depending on how good we are at staying mindful, at taking in our surroundings without judgment, without expectation, we can either be better or worse. We can either be more patient or nervous. And it really varies from person to person. Learning and practicing mindfulness meditation can really help us in this regard. Once upon a time, I used this service called Headspace, and then I stopped. I might go back to it just for the introductory lessons, like the free ones. I don't know if I really want to pay for it. But I found that it helped me at the time, so maybe I should just pick up those skills again, just to the level where, I could practice them by myself without any external aid, so that I can focus my mind more. These days I found that my mind is a little bit more scattered than usual, maybe you guys have had experiences like this, let me know if you have, but, I'll sit down and I'll start reading a book or something, and, what'll happen to me is, like, I'll be reading, and I'm taking in the information on the first few pages, but then I start thinking about something else, something that kind of makes me tense up and clench up in my chest, in my head as well, like, should I be worrying about this, should I be worrying about that, It's tough sometimes to really focus on the present moment, and I think part of the reason for that is because a lot of us treat focus as the opposite of what it really is. I mean, focus isn't this thing that you will so much. Focus is this thing that you allow. Like, you allow yourself to be unworried. You allow yourself to absorb and experience whatever's in front of you, as opposed to, disallowing that, constantly being worried, constantly being tense. It's okay. It's okay to focus on what's in front of you. It's okay not to think about those other things, especially if you're a bit of a planner, at least a bit of a planner, if you have at least some of your life and your day-to-day and your schedule, thought up just a little bit, It's safe to focus on what's in front of you. And I mean, I can say that all I want and I can talk about it, but even for me, it's tough to not to get my head around, because on a rational level, I understand it, but more get my heart around, Because I can tell myself all I want, like, it's fine to focus on something, but I have to believe it. And more than anything else, I have to do it over and over again, enough times where it becomes second nature. This quote gets attributed to Bruce Lee, but I don't know if he's the one who actually said it. But there's a quote that I really like that says, the master doesn't learn until they get it right. The master learns until they can't get it wrong. And I feel like, for me, in order to get back to that kind of meditative focus and sharpness and clarity that I used to have, that's really what I have to do. I don't really think I have much of a choice in that regard, Like, sure, I can go ahead and I can learn it a bit, I can practice some amount, and I can say to myself, oh, okay, I got it, right? But then, unless I keep going, unless I keep practicing, the temptation to just be scatterbrained and to start thinking about 100 different things that, may or may not be relevant as well as the other thing. All of these things that we think about, all these distractions, they're not necessarily, helpful to us, right? They're not necessarily something that that will make us stronger, that will make us smarter, that will make us, better at relating to others. Not necessarily. I mean, 99% of the time, in most cases, all they do is they just sap us of our energy, make us more tired. And that's why I think it's nice to have these moments of peace and calm and, I suppose, stillness, right? But, like I said, inevitably, a person will get restless, and they'll want to see what else the world has to offer. Probably shouldn't leave the light on. Someone hasn't taken their trash. Let's just go ahead and be a helpful citizen. There's no reason to do this. But ultimately, what reason is there to do anything? When you think about it, the best games, it doesn't matter how many points they give you, it doesn't matter how much experience they give you, how many levels you gain, how many times you prestige, whether you New Game Plus. All that stuff, ultimately, it doesn't matter to us. What matters is it enjoyable, Is it something that we love to do? And I think that, some of the most miserable players of games that I've ever talked to, and myself among them at certain points in my life, we've been like, I can't stop playing this game, but, I'm not actually having fun, right? I'm not actually having a pleasant experience. I'm not enjoying myself. I'm just, I'm doing it because it's a thing to do, just pushing the numbers higher and higher. And this is one of the other reasons why I think experiences like this, despite being pointless, are stronger for it. And they're less of a game and more so a tool for self-reflection, understanding yourself, understanding, why you do the things you do. And I think that even though that's an intimidating thing, an intimidating topic, something that, something that scares people away, understanding why we do the things we do is, it doesn't have to be so scary, You can approach it softly, you can approach it carefully, slowly. And you can really figure things out about yourself. And when you're done, when you put it down, you feel a little bit stronger. A little bit more peaceful, you feel a little bit less worried, a little bit less at war with yourself. Because I think, especially in this day and age, a great many of us are at war with ourselves in one way or another. We're always second-guessing ourselves, we're always doubting ourselves. Am I good enough? Is this really something I should do? Is this really something I should spend my time on? You get stories of people just being pulled in 100 different directions. You get stories of people who feel like they're stagnating, they're too depressed to do anything. They kind of just, they sit in their home, they sit in their room. And, it gets to the point where you don't even really want to play games or anything. You don't know what you want to do. You don't want to do anything. Because, what's the point of doing anything? But that doesn't have to be such a bad thing, What is the point of doing anything, right? At the end of the day, you gotta dig deep into your heart and realize that the point of doing anything is because in one way or another, it fulfills you. And I think something that people aren't told enough, that children aren't told this enough, teenagers aren't told this enough, adults certainly aren't told this enough by themselves or by each other, but an activity, something you engage with, it doesn't need to be justified to anyone, and not to yourself either. I think that in reality we have a lot of things that make us feel happy, that make us feel fulfilled, but when we do them, we tend to invalidate the fulfillment that those things give us, I think this game can serve as an example of that as well. There were moments when I was thinking about making this video, thinking about interacting with this piece of software, right? Where I was like, oh, this is completely worthless, people are going to laugh at me. People are not going to care, they're going to be like, what the hell is this, right? But honestly, the more aware you become, and I guess the older you get to an extent as well, you just start to be less scared of things like that, you realize that it doesn't matter so much. because ultimately, if one person can express to the world that, hey, it's valid and it justifies itself to find fulfillment in whatever you do, even the little things, even the worthless and pointless and meaningless things. If one person is brave enough and bold enough to do something like that, then others will as well. Not necessarily, it's never guaranteed. Maybe no one will. Maybe, the 50 to 100 people that watch this video, they won't care. They'll be like, you know what, this isn't for me. And either they'll take some form of lesson from this or some kind of self-reflection, or maybe they won't. Maybe they won't, and that's fine too. It's all fine. But I think that on the off chance that at least one person does, that they say, hey, it's fine. It's fine to love the things that I love. I don't have to explain it to anybody. I don't have to justify it to anybody. I don't have to make it worth something. It's already worth something because I love it, right? If even one person comes to that kind of awareness and that kind of realization and understanding and allows themselves to resonate with themselves, then, I think I'll be pretty happy. But that aside, even if they don't, even if 0 people do that, I'll still be happy. Just because there is a chance, and that chance it's enough for me, It's kind of like putting a message in a bottle, or, deciding to drop $1 on the ground. Somebody might find it, might smile, might make them happy. Why not, right? You don't really lose that much, but the people who find it, who find this video, who enjoy this video, I'm sure they'll be very happy that I took the time to make this. I'm sure that, they'll take this time and they'll take this moment and they'll be like, yeah, you know what, I needed this. I appreciated this, and it really got me thinking about interesting stuff. And as you can see, it's completely unscripted as well. Usually it's not something I do. Got some choppiness going on here. Not sure what's up with that. Any neighbors home? Doesn't seem so. This is my mailbox. There's nothing in it. We're going to go ahead and put this trash can here so that we remember where this door is. Even though I'm not the kind of person to, really cherish the cold as an element, I do think that there's worth and there's value in, a moment like this, even if it were in real life. In Toronto, it's snowed quite heavily the last 2 days compared to before. And, whenever you go out to, shovel the driveway or to, take in groceries from outside, and you really feel the cold just kind of bite into you. No, it's not comfortable and it's not pleasant, but I think it's a valuable experience, especially, in a situation like this where there's this clashing and this meeting of the two, of human creation contrasted against, the nature of Earth, the nature of our planet, our world, No matter what we do, no matter how much we create, what we build, there should always be some kind of equilibrium, Like, if we're not careful, snow will still fall, water will still flow, air will still blow. But, we might not be here to see that. And I think that that's something nobody wants. And it's something to be mindful of. And, this is the kind of thing that, especially in sort of, peaceful videos like this, is generally not something people like to bring up, and I can understand why, but at the same time, I think that, again, there's no need to be afraid of it. There's no need to be scared of it. It's not something to, run away from, It's okay. It's fine. And I did say, after all, that the experience of this game, this world, this creation is a kind of peaceful sorrow. I think death is another thing that people tend to, shy away from and run away from, but we don't have to. I mean, it doesn't have to be this dreadful thing. I think it can be something to honor and something to respect, Trees die in winter and they come back in summer. Or at least their leaves do. Many plants die in winter. But, they're no less beautiful for it. And winter is no less beautiful for it. But yeah, I think that nature and humanity, we've always kind of informed each other and always kind of influenced each other. To varying degrees, of course, but yeah, the amount we can exert our influence on nature, it doesn't make us gods or anything. It doesn't make us all powerful. It gives us a measure of control, which is, it's indeed very good and very useful, but I think that we should be really careful not to, overstep. Because at the end of the day, ultimately, when you compare humanity to the planet we live on, we are by far the more fragile of the two. Any number of calamities could happen and the world would still be here. This big blue ball spinning in space. And that's something that I think we have to remember as a species and as a people. And there are a lot of animals too that are dependent on us. By having intellect, by having the ability to think, to make decisions and to reason, to shift and alter the world on such a massive scale, I think that we also have a duty and a responsibility to, all of the creatures that we might impact by doing so, and that we do impact by doing so. Every year, a different species goes extinct, and, lots of people don't even know about that. And that's not a bad thing, you're not responsible to know everything that goes on. But if you do know about something, and if you can do something, it's, and if you care about it, of course, because you can't just, this goes back to that whole thing about, tension versus peace. You don't necessarily have to care about everything, but there are some things which, if you do care about, benefit you a great deal. And I've said this in previous videos, and it's an adage that I think I'll bring back and I'll say a number of times, but there are selfish reasons to be selfless. It benefits you on an individual level to, exhibit some level of altruism. And there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't corrupt it. It doesn't make it any less pure. You're not suddenly less selfless. Your selflessness isn't suddenly, counterfeit or bootleg or anything like that. If you're selfless for selfish reasons, you're still selfless. You're still doing something that, benefits others. And if you happen to also, be advantaged by it yourself, all the better. If no one suffers for it, then why not? I think the lack of awareness of this concept and the lack of understanding of this is what makes, selfishness versus selflessness such a tense topic of discussion when, again, it doesn't need to be. There are selfish reasons to be selfless. There are good reasons to be selfless, even if you don't actually care about other people. Even if you just care about yourself, it's good for you. Because it tends to return. Obviously, you can't pour from an empty cup. So you need to make sure that to some extent, you establish yourself and you take care of yourself, and, you don't just discard all of your strength and all of your health. You don't want to do that. That's a trap that selfless and altruistic people tend to fall into. It's a trap that I have tended to fall into. And it's not something I'm proud of, but it's something that ideally I've learned from. And I mean, I say that, but really, who knows how well I've learned from anything, right? We have hopes, we have faith that we learn from the mistakes we've made and the things we've done, but really, who can say until we actually are put in a situation where, we're really tested and we see if that's actually true. The crunch of snow under our feet is something that, again, I really associate with that peculiar and particular feeling. That I was talking about earlier. Nice. Earlier today I was feeling kind of, kind of sad about myself, kind of depressed, kind of, how do I put it? I guess restless would be a good word for it. And, my girlfriend basically told me that, you don't have to be productive every day. And I've heard this before, and I've even said it to people, but I think it just goes to show that no matter how how much you think you know, no matter how helpful you've been to others, no matter how much you think that, oh, I've got this, this is a concept that I've internalized and, it's in the bag now. I've learned this, I'm good with it. Don't need to worry about it anymore. You just never know, Sometimes you just need a reminder. Because not only do we forget out of, actual, absence of thought, but we also forget out of, willful sabotage. There are so many factors at play that make it, tempting to believe that, I have to be productive every single day. I have to do something every single day. And I'm like that. I'm a lot like that, It's something that really acts on me quite powerfully. And if I haven't done enough for the day, I feel really restless. But I guess I don't have to be, So this really kind of was an unstructured ramble about various topics that I wanted to, just express, gush about, talk about. There was no plan, no meaning, really. Any meaning that you find in this video, it's really something that, you'll come to by yourself and you'll contextualize for yourself. Maybe everything I was talking about was gibberish, right? Who knows? Maybe you'll be one of those people who's like, wow, you're really wise and stuff. And maybe you'll be one of those people who's like, man, Leo, like, you're a fool, What the hell are you talking about, right? And, I've come to realize that both of those are valid, and both of those are simultaneously true, Like, yeah, sure, I can be like the smartest guy in the world, whatever, right? But if you're the smartest guy in the world and you don't at the same time recognize that you're also kind of an idiot, then really you're not actually that smart at the end of the day. Because, believing that you're flawless and believing that you can do no wrong and that you can't evolve further, it really just leads to stagnation and just leads to standing still, and not in a good way and not in a peaceful way, but in a way that can feel quite quite damaging and quite hurtful. But I think that again, as long as you are all constantly trying your best, and as long as I'm trying my best, and each of us have to define what our best is for ourselves. We can't let, the external world and the people around us tell us what that is. We can ask them for their opinion. We can ask them for love and warmth and affection. We can ask them for advice and what they think. Because, of course, we shouldn't forget, we surround ourselves with these people for a reason. We surround ourselves with these people because, we're better. We're better for being around them, and hopefully, they're better for being around us. But ultimately, it should be you, and you need to be at peace with what your best means, and you need to be at peace with, the things that you're doing and the things that you hope to do. And if all these things are a little too much, a little too heavy, then, the least you could do is just wait for a snowy evening, look outside your window and enjoy some snow falling. Thank you all very much. This has been Leo K. And I will see you guys next time.